The basis we said of a woman, she makes a bracha, Shosani Kirtzono, that she's created, the woman is created in the will of God, and she has to flow, like in the Indian way or the Eastern way. You have to flow with and be part of who you are and what you are, really what you're doing. And let that flow and happen. But that's built upon not what you like to do or don't want to do, but it really has to do what God created you are meant to be, which means that God is good, you trust God, that you have totally confidence in Hashem, and your goal in life is to do His will and only His will, and to do it in such a way that is pleasing to God. That's basically what we said last week. This week we want to talk about another harder subject, but it's important to know. The papers will be coming out soon. Got a lot of papers. I won't be finishing even. It is the fact of ma'avirin al midoso, which means that a person is in a situation where there's good reason to act a certain way, which is like you're in pain, or there's a certain reason why you want to express yourself with anger, and a good reason why you want to tell the other person off, or a good reason why you want to say certain things or do certain ways. But instead of doing which is a natural reaction, like you hit your knee and it goes up by itself, spontaneous reflex action that normally takes place. Somebody pushes you, you push back. Somebody says nasty things to you, so what do you want to do?
Quiet.
Strangle him or run away or something.
It's a mitzvah to answer, because
What?
sometimes I think it's a big mitzvah to answer, because sometimes if you keep it for yourself.
This is the Greek Western frustration Freudian answer. And that is the answer of the animals, of the low life, of animalistic way. And therefore, in order to help the animal not to get frustrated or stolen, we mentioned yesterday the thing called, when you have pain or something in front of it, it's called fight, flight, or freeze. So instead of freezing, you got to speak yourself up and you got to express yourself and not to keep it in. So I agree with you that if you're in the animalistic aspect and something affects, and you shouldn't be frustrated, you don't speak up, it comes in, it definitely hurts you. But we have a different sense of value. You see, we have a different way of changing pleasure, pain, and pain, pleasure. So if we have a different answer to the story, okay? So if we don't have to, we have different ways of expressing. We're going to explain right away. Okay? Like it says in Gemara, Nida. Very interesting. We found a Rashi, Nida. The word Nekeva, woman, means pray. Another word for prayer. Nikuva, pray, to pray. Was it something that causes a person to pray? It's a different. Or it's just to look up to God and ask God. It's another frame of reference and value, which we'll talk right away. Yes.
Is there a problem with the little dog here?
Who?
There's a little dog here.
Where's the door?
In the corner.
That doesn't bother me. As long as it doesn't, I don't want to say. Like, I was in Holland there, so I went to Kollel. So I asked the people in Holland, how come they're not worried that they put the kids in the cabs and they send them to school, How come they're not worried they were not going to be kidnapped? Those days when I was there, about 8-10 years ago, it was kidnapping. Why are they worried about it? Kidnap the kids? He says, nobody wants children. We only have dogs here. You know what I mean? So they don't want the kids. So they don't have to worry about the kids going to school. They'll be protected. And they have only dogs there. And they have these special things. They go with the dogs and they're cleaning the outside. They have a whole story about dogs. Anyway, doesn't bother me. Maybe it's a Gilgal. A Gilgal.
They said that Ari HaKadosh knew the Gilgulim of everything. On Shabbat stable, the cats used to go in.
That's right.
And he knew, and he used to tell them what they sinned, and they asked them to ask.
100%.
It sounds crazy.
That's okay. No. Very good. Anyway, we want to talk about the hard point of a woman accepting, since the woman is in a position that she has to come on to her husband and she has to come on to society a little bit, and she's not independent in that sense, so therefore she has to, so to speak, take junk from people and things. She has to somehow keep her balance. And so how can the woman accept Yisurim, accept pain, and also Maral Midoso? She's able to change her nature. We want to talk about that today. I have a whole article here. I don't know if we even have this supposed to do. I really want to explain something here before we get the paper, but I want to explain it to you. The Gemara Nida says also that it's harder. This is a famous Gemara. And the question is, where does the woman come from? Where does the man come from? Since the man comes from the earth, so therefore earth, person is easier to appease. Lefayes, it's easier for a man. For a woman, since she comes from the man, which is meat and bones, therefore it's very hard for a woman by nature to appease. Okay? To be appeased. And she'll always, years later, still bring it up and bring it up and bring it up after 30 years and 20 years. The man already forgotten and forgiven. What?
What is that?
Lefayes. This is a Gemara, nothing with Rabbi Goldstein. It's a Gemara, Faisha Gemara. And I want to explain that a little bit. What?
Is that what they mean when they say din? Women at din?
Women at din, I don't know if that's the only explanation, but the woman is on the left in din, which means that it's also part of that. She wants to have justice, she wants right, she wants things to be exactly so. And Lafayes is, in other words, is a little harder for the woman than the man. A woman to be appeased is much harder. Maybe momentarily she'll forget and lose herself because she's daitem kalos, and her mind is cow for whatever reason is, because of a husband and wife relationship and a position. But down deep, it's hard to Lafayes. It's harder to Lafayes. And
you talk about it very, very sincerely, and you find out even the little notes in it and between the lines, you could Lafayes, you could appease.
yeah, but we're talking about this is what the Gemara says. I didn't make it up. This is what the Gemara says. More Nida, Aflamin around there, says it clearly. So I want to explain a little bit of the nature. I want to know how you can win. We're interested in women winning and next world and how to live a better life and a happy life. That's all we're talking about. And everybody has to learn from it. So that's a very important piece to know, because the man comes from the earth and the woman comes from the meat and the bones of the man, and therefore a little harder. Bones are hard, meat are tough. Now there's also the nature of the animalistic part of man, which is, the question is, where are you? Who are you? So if you're always Shasani Kirtzon, doing God's will, and always being the one that takes all the junk, so to speak, and all the anger, etc., you have to always be the goody-goody. So then the question is, you turn to zero. Who are you? What are you? Where am I? And therefore, it's very hard. And then you don't want to be zero. You want to be something, so you got to stand up for your rights and speak up, and the person's wrong, and they did wrong, and what's happening. And especially the nefesh behema, the animalistic part, again, if you push back. And especially the animalistic part lives in the now, and a woman lives in the now. Heat, cold, different pressures, feelings is in the now, and in the now, that's the non-dikalas that it moves a little bit. So now talking about, in the general picture, we mention again, the Gemara says that if a person, any person, man or woman, who accepts Yisurim from God. And Yisurim means to us, you have a desire to do something, and something stops your desire. And it irritates you. That can be from 0 to 100. The example given in the Gemara of a minor point of being frustrated or Yisurim is, you put your hand in your pocket and you want to give somebody one coin, you find another coin, you have to put it a second time in your pocket, and you got to put it out. Or like a woman, let's say, does the floor and the kids walk on the floor, or she does the dishes and they got to redo it again, or whatever, any type of frustration. If you go 0, thank you very much. Okay.
She makes 47.
Okay. Now we're going to give out, thank you very much. We're going to give out copies of this. Let's get some copies out of this. Okay. So let's pass this out. That's page 1. We have a lot of pages here. So we mentioned that I mentioned basically, we'll get back to ourselves, that we have a different frame of reference. If we take the human being as they are and living in the world we have and reacting to the world and going to the Greek world and the Western University and all the universities that exist, so there, naturally, you want to get rid of your frustrations, speak up, do what you want, how you feel, be expressive, and develop yourself and what you want and all those needs. And then you feel good about it, but that's not the Jewish way. Usually we have a different game, a different story. We have a thing called God. And therefore, whatever is done, he now is testing us. Do we believe in him or not? Is he good? We believe, does it really come from God or not from God? And it's our job, when something happens, how does God want us to react here? So we always have to ask like an outer voice, an outside voice, or it's called like an adult position or a parent position. What should I do here? Torah teach me what I should say of them. Which is a parent position, look into the Torah, the Bible, the rabbis, the Chazal. What are you supposed to do? What is the right thing to do?
In the Torah is very accepting.
What?
A woman should be a receiver.
No, yeah, but we're talking about that. We said Shoshana. But you have to understand what is taking place. Not that you're again, receive me, you're a shmata, you're 0, you're nothing. Okay, here I am. I'm on the step on me. We don't say that. No, we don't say that. No, we're not saying that. No way. Because we're talking about about the big picture. We're going in now to the school of Sori Meinu, and there we want to emulate God, and we're growing and developing and happening. You see? And you're in this rich school and developing, happening, changing your character and being, and you're excited what you're doing, and you have passion what you're doing, and you have vibrancy in life and what's happening. So therefore, we're talking about now, you're playing the role of Sori Meinu. So what would Sori Meinu do now? I was in Guatemala maybe 34 years ago, and I spoke in a shul and I had a bar mitzvah. Met the guy years later. And I didn't want to tell the kid, everything was, there's no rabbi in the community. The shochet already was Machal Shabbos, and there's only one guy, Fishman there, who brought in a shochet for his mother. And there was no religious, and it was just finished. And the communists were actually working there fully. They have this shul, and they come to shul for bar mitzvah, and what are they going to tell the kid? I found out this kid's father was a big rabbi. I said to him, look, before you do anything, ask would your grandfather, or your father, his grandfather, would he do this? What would he do in such a case? What would Sari Mena do in such a case? How would she, in the school of Sari Mena, what would Sari Mena do?
She will teach Torah.
What? Yeah, but what does the Torah say? See, I know, what does the Torah say? What would she do in such a case? Would she speak Lashon Hara, be angry, hurt the person? What would she do? So now Sari Mena is emulating God, doing God's will. Sari Mena is not a shmata. She's not a nobody or nothing. What's Sari Mena do? How would she accept Yisurin punishment or criticism or all these type of things, and let this man step over you, this person, blah blah blah? How can you? What's wrong? How can I stand up for wrong and right? Now, Sari Mena, we mentioned clearly when it came to Das Torah, what did Sari Mena do? When Hagar did things wrong and said wrong Das Torah, what did Sari Mena do? She hollered and she persecuted and said, no, you got to do this thing right. She stood on top of Hagar and said, no, you got to say things that I tell you to say, exactly what I say, and not the way you want. You can't be independent. And Avraham agreed for Das Torah that they have to sit over here. Das Torah to speak up Torah. So Das Torah, we don't mavatal Das Torah. Don't get me wrong. You're not a shmata. Das Torah you stand up for. Other things you have to emulate and follow what Hashem says when He's doing. Now, the position of the woman, as we're saying now, is much harder than the man, because basically we said it's harder to a woman to be appeased in certain ways. If she comes from Botzer and that's almost a man is from her. We mentioned that the woman's more in the now, feeling's what it is, and the woman, if she does accept what it is, she feels she's a shmata, zero, and she can't be a zero. So a woman has a hard problem in accepting Yisurim. Yisurim means God giving all these type of pains and all these type of frustrations, whatever it is. Or ma'avirin al midoisav, or somebody hurts you and hurts your feelings, that you hold yourself back and you change your opinion what you're going to do, and you'd rather be more expressive. Or if you don't, you feel bad about why you weren't expressive, or why you tell the person off, or this and that. So a woman has a very hard position here. But the reward is if you can face in the little part of Yisurim and do it by and accept God's will with ba'ahava, with love and care, with happiness and joy. She already passed the test. That itself is the medicine. Since you can do a little bit, so then God will give you what? Children and long life. Because in order to live long life, you have to learn how to cope with all these situations. And I call the word maturity. Maturity means that you get rid of the games and the history and the stories and all these ins and out things, and you get to the tachlis. You get, what's your real goal? What is really happening here? What is God testing me? When somebody irritates you, what is He testing? The test is, when somebody irritates me, what do I say? I say what? I have to say that what? No. That God's testing me. He wants to see if I'm going to have anger.
Right.
So it's worth me not to get angry and overlook you, because I'm going to win upstairs. My point's upstairs. But then the other person will think I'm a shmata and I'm good, and in giving in, and he thinks I agree to him, and it's really he's wrong and he's bad, so what should I do? So the question, which game are you playing? Where are you getting your points from? And this is a very hard position, but it can be something that happens. Now, yes.
In certain cases, is it like, is it okay, like, to try to, a person who's, let's say, more like non-expressive. If a person is very non-expressive in feeling, in some cases, is it necessary for them to go through that in order to get to the right point of being accepting, and, or can a person just, the person seems like psychologically not healthy, they can't express themselves. Can they skip all that and just do the right thing?
The ones who are non-expressive have a different code. They have to be expressive.
They do, yeah.
But expressive of what? Of Das Torah, right, wrong. Feelings have to be touched. Most people in the Yeshiva world, and children included, your children, do not contact their real feelings. A person in the street is very easy to contact their real feelings. No problem. They're right away in, they're already They're already circling what they feel, pain and pleasure, what they know right away. The street person knows right what they want. In and out, what they want. It's the, quote, the cultured person, the one that went to college, the one that has society and has all these values pushed upon him, and he wants to please the world and please himself, please his parents, please God, and please society. So he has all these mixed up feelings that he doesn't know his real true feelings. And they're very hard to use pleasure and pain that we're trying to talk about and use it as a leverage in order to do what you're going to do, because you're mixed up in your feelings. You don't know what real pain and real pleasure is, or what you're really pain you want, because you're afraid that if you say this is pain and pleasure, who you want, and you're not as religious, you're not a good person, it's bad, and therefore you cover up your real feelings. So we have the religious people have a very hard job. Those who are Bali Tshuva much easier, because they already felt their feeling, and now they're religious, so they get themselves lined up. But today, when you're already, quote, more religious, already from, and back and forth, all more experience in life, so then to contact your real feelings, not easy, because if you contact and express your real feelings, what's going to happen? God's going to club you, the rabbi's going to hit you, and the society will talk bad about you, you know what I mean? And then you look at yourself, I had those feelings, I can't be, it's wrong, and you're back again. You don't know how to balance yourself. Not that you should have those feelings, you should never have those feelings, which you're really right, but you still haven't contact or changed or grown out of your feelings, or grown out of your I would say your childish point into a matured way in your feelings of understanding. It's a very hard problem. It's not an easy problem. So at a certain point you've grown, and then you're frozen and you're not growing further. So you're not going further, you feel frustrated and bad, and you blame your husband, your kids, and then when the kids and husband grow up, what do you want to do? What are you going to do? You say, I want to paint, I want to grow, I want to sing, and then there's a bunch of bull stories, because you're not happy. Because you really didn't change yourself to be a total Jewish, whatever it is, a Jewish woman with all, or you have become sorry man with all the good qualities, and therefore you're mixed up a little bit. You never really train yourself. So if at an age of the second stage or third stage in life, when people are ready, the children grown up, now what? So you find that usually a husband and wife accept each other, and they still fight a little this until they give it to a point. Okay. He does his thing, I'll do my thing, and let's go. But the growth already is finished, and the excitement and vibrancy of growing together is out. We got to keep things together. It should fall apart and let it happen. And let me just have my peace and my space, and I'll read my books, and you'll read your books, and somehow we'll meet together occasionally, once a week, who knows what. And that's what happened. And why? Because there's no growth, and you're afraid to develop and grow, and at a certain point you lost that vibrancy and happiness of life, a husband and wife, a growth together and happening and changing midos and accepting God's ways. And Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is just another moray and customs that you're used to and you're doing it, and you're just happy and you're doing it by rote, rather than the vibrancy and happiness of life. So there's all these things, there's always time to move. But anyway, we're not here nor there, and we have to now have that growth happen. So we mentioned that the feelings of more complicated, educated, advanced people in life is much harder. I give the famous story, I tell over the story, because I tell it many times, so everybody knows about the story, that you have a woman, educated woman, and she has a daughter, and the woman's about 85, 90 now, and the daughter's about 50, and now the daughter feels that at that time she's able to have confrontation with her mother and express her real feelings, what they want and what it is, and the mother wants to talk to the daughter because a lot of things are unsaid. They just keep their politeness and niceness, but never really express their real feelings, what happened, okay? That's why the daughter ran away way down the other part of the United States, and the mother's in New York, and the daughter's way out somewhere, who knows where. And now at a certain age, they now figure, okay, we'll get together. So the Rabbi Goldstein makes a time for them to meet together. He set a time, and I'll be there, and they're going to come and talk out and express their inner feelings, what they are. Ding, ding, the time comes. What happens? They both don't show up.
Only the rabbi showed up.
Only the rabbi was there. Because why? Because it's very threatening. Very threatening to really bring out your feelings to your parents. Whether you'd rather hide it and let it be there, and you'll be nice and kind, etc. When you don't want to contact the feelings, you don't want to really grow in it. Most people don't want to. They're afraid of growth. because it means change of oneself. It means bringing up things that people thought that you all their life the mother thought that you really loved or really cared, and now you find it's really not so, and your daughter always thought blah blah blah, and everything just changed and collapses, and they're very hard to quote to be mature, to accept that a daughter and a son, a daughter and a mother have basic love and care, and develop that point, the positive, matured part, and grow from there. But they'd rather keep all the games and storied history together and let it slip by, and they both will disappear from the world nicely. They'll come in and they'll just disappear nicely and pleasantly without too much troubles and growth that happens. This is a very serious heart problem. So, religious people, what?
Also when they told us to try not to get this done.
Yeah, also you're doing away. So if you believe in God and you're working out, it's not chutzpah. You got to say it in the right way and do it the right. But the main thing is you're together growing to change. And if it's taken in a positive way, it can happen. But it's not in a positive. Second, you say one little word or one thing. Oh, you didn't love me. You don't wow. And it goes down the drain, and you're already off, and you just lost your father, your mother, and your daughter, and your children right out of the window. In one word, yeah.
Rabbi, in that case, let's say that the child wants to, and the parent doesn't, the husband wants to, and the wife doesn't. If A wants to have those talks and B doesn't, should A respect the feelings of B, and like you need two people to be willing?
That's two people to be willing.
Or you have to just forget it?
No, two people. When you have to work on the other person to be willing. Because why is the other person willing? Because there's too much pain. By doing it, he's afraid of pain, afraid of being clobbered, lost himself, who he is, identity. You have to feel trust. Trust in each one. And trust is very hard, because as you gain gold, who wears the pants, who wears this, what's happening, trust is not an easy position, because it's very threatening, right? Very threatening. Every step you make in lay life is very threatening. Very threatening for both sides. So you'd rather have the pain, stay in and stay crippled and be as you are, let things happen and not grow. And that's not sorry Maina, that's not the Jewish school. Because you both have not been trained, you lost the growth, the excitement, the vibrancy of growth and happiness and happening in the Jewish spirit. And it's very hard. Because at the end, the wife demands what she wants, and make sure the husband boxes into whatever she wants, no matter what. She doesn't want any change in that. She wants to make sure her pictures remain the same and nothing changed. And the guy wants also the same story, nothing changed with it. And then it's when they don't want to grow and they want to keep it as it is. Because I want to explain you now two stories. One story is I had my best friend I went with for years, 4, 5, 6 years. I don't know this guy, I don't mention his name. I haven't been any base matters with him. And then we're talking about each other. I said, what did you see in me? So I told him what I saw in him. What, you didn't see that I'm a man of truth? I said, no. He said, I have nothing to do with you, goodbye. And it's already 30 years gone by, 40 years gone by. I don't hardly see the guy. I don't know. So he was my best friend, close to me. Because the thing that he thought I saw in him, I never saw. And he just went off the way. He was finished. Because his image that he had of me and I had of him was not the image. I still like him, etc. But I saw different things. But he didn't want me to see that. He wanted to see this. And I didn't see that in him. Yeah, I can't relate to him. He just collapsed.
Why did you tell the truth?
I was too young then. I was a truthful guy, but I didn't know he would react that way. I really didn't know. I thought he's talking honestly, and we're really discussing. And if we're in honest discussions, who says how honest it is? You want to be open, but if you really threaten and you say the wrong thing, it's a collapse. Imagine a husband says, really, I never loved you. There you go. I only did this to be, or the other story, whatever it may be, and all the years you go down there, just one word, and it's down the drain, whatever it is. Or I don't appreciate whatever it may be, you hear yourself. Who knows what can be? So it is threatening, but the growth is there. It doesn't mean there's other ways, matured ways to grow and happen. Except your picture and his picture, or your own picture, your child and yourself. Forget about you and your husband. Your child and yourself may be pictures that you don't know what's going on. The kids aren't really growing. You're not really growing. And you keep them one way. You think that's the way, and it may not be the way. In the school of Sari Menu, there's growth, there's happening, there's things that are moving, and Rosh Hashanah time is the time to regroup your ideas and thoughts and grow and start a new year anew. Like now's a chance anew to new. We need to start again. Vibrancy, let's start again. Okay, let's start again, you know. This is probably going to take me out now. Start again. Let's go down there. Let's start romancing again, start again. And we're going to, let's start life again. New year, new life, new thing. But anyway, what I will say is that the basic point, that's one story. There's another story I forgot I wanted to tell you. It's not simple. This is not a simple thing. But definitely you need the growth. We have to have the VADs. The VADs work, don't work. The VADs work for one reason. If you meet every week and talk, eventually something happens. And everybody knows. It takes years of work. Until you get the confidence to really say what you're really on. Until you know who you are. It takes years. It doesn't work easily. It doesn't mean your views are right. You have to be ready to change and grow. Now, part of growing and change is Marvel Midosa. Now let's talk about Marvel. Somebody says something to you that unnerves you. Okay? What do you do? So now you have to ask, why is it unnerving me? Maybe I'm not showing. Maybe it's like a fly touching a piece of dirt and I got some dirt. I have to clean up my act. There's something wrong here. Why should I be oversensitive about this thing? And this person irritates me. That I have to, Marval Midos, have to change my whole being, be a shmata, believe in God, accept it, and I get a reward. Okay, but anyway, you're going to have to do it anyway. You have to change yourself and accept God's ways, etc. Now you have to look into that story. You have to look into something. Why all of a sudden this is happening? Why to me? What happened to me? Where am I? And you have to check yourself up. But meanwhile, how are you going to react? Why is it hurting me? Okay, that's a story of tshuva, working on yourself. But the question is, I cannot react to the other person because I already want to strangle him, hit him, talk back, talk to my neighbor, l'shem shamayim, and who knows what I want to do. So now how do I change that? That's called marvel midosai. You got to now have a different set of values in order for you to react a different way, in a Torah way, in a godly way, that you're sorry menu, and you're going to act with dignity to do God's will. And you have a different set of values. So that's one thing you have to react to. You have to know why this affect you, how to change, and why you got into the story of what could be. And there's a whole interaction of what's happening here. So the first thing you have to know, by Marval Midosov, is very hard for women, and it's required to do it. So we have these texts here. So if you want to have a clean slate, one of the tricks is you forgive and forget others, and then God forgives and forgets you. Whatever. And in most of the diets, or people who want to grow, change, they got to say, forgive and forget. Forget it, past, start new. Because why? Because you're holding on to very negative forces and negative things. So you have to let it go. Because your history, your story, we're afraid to let things go. Why? Because we have religion, we have the past. Then we'll find out who we are really. We're religious, who says what we're doing, who says what we want. Okay, but back again. You have to go forward, and you have to know there's a God, use your mind, and know that you have these certain feelings. You have to grab them and grow and ask the religious questions to get back yourself in the right pace, the right perspective. So now, we're going to start the piece here. So you want to have a clean slate for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. But if you have a clean slate, God will give you a blessing. If you have all these game stories and histories, what's going to happen? You can't function, you can't grow, you can't have a new life. So it says, Gemara Rosh Hashanah Yud Zayin Aleph, Isa. Kol ha'mav al midoisa marvim al kol pshara. Shene'emar nosi avam v'over pesha. L'mi nosi avam, who does the Almighty carry away the sin? And mi she'over al pesha. Somebody who goes overlooks pesha. What is pesha? Anybody know? Somebody hurts you. A sin. Somebody did something bad to you.
Crying.
What?
Crying.
Amazing.
Yeah, crying.
A crime to you. Somebody did a crime, a terrible crime to you. So how can you not stand here? You got to speak up and tell the person, beat the person up, and bring them to court. What do you mean?
Opposite, you beat yourself that you do not speak. I remember myself from childhood or later on.
Yeah, but we don't. No. You do speak up a different way. You speak to God, and you say, "Look, God, I want to emulate you, and these people hurt me, and I'm going to change my way, and now I want you to run the world justice and way, and it's not my world, it's your world, and I want to come out happy. I don't want to hate people, love people. It's what you gave to me, and it's your reason. You're the one that ran the world. It's justice why you did this to me and why this person did it to me. Maybe he had no right to because he's a bum, but I accept my lot because God did it to me because I have to change my ways and grow. And one of the ways I'm going to accept your way. God is good, and I'm going to let it roll off of me like water over. They say a duck's back, and I'm going to now be happy because if I don't, I'm going to be unhappy. I'm going to do bad things. I want to do only good things. And Baruch Hashem, la 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 la. And the person who hurts you, etc., you let it slip by. And then what do you gain from it? You have to create His pleasure. So it's not just you're passive. You're not passive ashmata. You are active, and you gain from it, and you grow from it. It's a different world.
You're not supposed to say to that person anything. There's a way.
Depends where and when. You got to know the story. We're going to talk about it when you and when not. Because what do you say to you? You say with anger, kas. First you got to come out straight yourself. First you come out straight yourself. Then you come out straight, then you're happy, accept God's will, and you grow. Now you have another step. If you want to help that person grow, or you want to get even with him, you want to tell him off, what do you want to tell them? What's your purpose now? What?
You shouldn't have a need to do it.
You don't have to have a need to it. You can have it, right. Nothing burning, but if you feel that you want to educate the person, have them grow, because you love every human being, every being is a godly person, you can tell the person. But you're not emotionally attached and involved in it. You're not emotionally attached.
I have an interest.
No, that's the interest, no good. That interest is your drive, and that's no good. Unhook from the game, unhook from the emotion, unhook from the passion or the will to tell him. There's no need to tell him.
So that for me, he can continue acting as he is, and I will.
No. There's certain times you have a right. There's certain times you must speak up. That's what we mentioned. Sorry, Menu spoke up, and she had to handle Hagar and tell her off. You're doing wrong, because it's Das Torah's wrong. There's certain times you have to, the neighbor's bothering you, have to say, look, stop bothering my kids, myself, me. You have a right to speak up. You have a right to take a person to court. You have a right to question what went on. But you're not emotionally involved in it that you're taking revenge or you're hooked into his game, what it may be. You have a right to that it shouldn't happen again or it shouldn't bother you. But what is your feelings towards that situation? How are you reacting towards the situation? Are you doing it yet?
Sometimes when something is very upsetting, so people, like, you feel like you can't, until you tell that person or do something, you can't go forward. So they have all the power.
That's right. They have the power and you're nothing.
And you're just a puppet, like
You must do it, like that's right, you should have to unhook, but you can definitely stop. You're not you can be hit.
But at a certain point you have to say, why am I giving all my power over to that person? And they have the right to just get me totally unbalanced and totally... So you have to say, Hashem, I still...
You are the master of yourself.
Right.
B is God telling you this to you for a reason. Either to test you out how you're going to react. B is there may be something wrong with you that this is why it's happening. God's giving you a message and telling you something. So what's he telling you? What does he want you to do? So then you have to...
can't feel that you won't have peace of mind until that person's taken
That's
care of.
bad. That is bad. That is not correct. That you have to know.
Does it mean that we should always be unattached or detached from people except be kind and be helpful?
No. There are certain times you have to act hard and mean. There are different times. You have to know when you and when not. But you have to know when you, this is the thing. But the first thing is, if this is the normal reaction, that's... And because some people are soft-spoken, people step on, doesn't mean that that's the way. Sometimes you have to be spoken up, you have to speak up, you have to tell your feelings. It's not that you're schmacked at nobody, no, yeah. But the question is, you gotta know when you and when not. But we're now involved in the essence question of Ma'av Midos. Okay. Pirish Rashi, Bezel Lashon. She'einu medagdek limdoi mido l'mitzarin oisoi. I don't want to give a measure against a measure. It's called the pound of flesh. Anybody heard this term, pound of flesh? It's being called Shakespeare. One of the merchant of Venice. He has a story there of a Jew anyway. It's called the pound of flesh. So you took a pound to me, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. You did this to me, I'll do that to you. You did this to me, I'll do that to you. I'll take this. So he takes that measure that he should give to the other guy, he leaves it alone, and he goes away. Again, let's get the simplistic meaning. There's a certain measure for measure you want to give back. The person, this you want to do that, this that. There's a certain measure you want to give back. So what do you do with that measure? You know about it, and you feel it, and you touch it, but you leave it and you go away. Okay? Kamo. Ein ma'avirin al ha-mitzvahs. You have a mitzvah, you don't go over it. Ein ma'avir, you don't go over it. Ve'em yelochan, you don't pass the food. In other words, you don't go over it, you stop. And you do it. Here is you go over. Ma'avirin lo yachad, what happens? So mida keneged mida, God goes over, since you left this all these feelings and measurements, so then God will forgive you of your sin. Ve'ein midas hadin medagdekes achareihem. So therefore, because you're not exact about somebody else, God's not going to be exact about you. Ella menchosam v'leches. I got to tell you a true story about myself. I was living in the east side. We had no children. We lived in this house. And my next door neighbor was a guy named Shrum. His brother Ted is worth $200-300 million, etc. At that time they were poor as church mouse, poor church. Our apartment cost about that, $20 a week, a month, $30 and it was a heated apartment, the east side, you know. So somebody did something wrong to us in the building. I don't know what it was. And we wanted to bring him to court. Guy did wrong, justice, all the religious reasons. So the guy told us, look, my neighbor is so strong. He said, listen, you got to be maver al midosah. You have to forgive and forget. If you will not bring the guy to court forget, God will not medagdek you and you'll have kids. A local guy. I mean, that's I got brachos from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Aaron Kotler, and I got from all these great rabbis, you know, all the list of people, and Henkins, all these rabbis. Anyway, and he did many things. But this is a simplistic guy. A balabas, a guy's an amor, it's the right thing. A simple guy. But this is what he said. He said, if you're maval yimidoso, if you forgive and forget, don't go take the guy to court. You're not medagde limdo to measure. Then God won't be medagde after you. Give up. Don't get so touchy, exact, dinny. The word dinny. Let it slip on.
Rabbi,
Yes.
are you allowed to, can you allow yourself to feel the feelings and think about it and get angry inside, or even that you can't delay?
That shouldn't be. You see, if you're ready at the end game, then you shouldn't have it. But in the beginning game, you have it, so you can feel the feeling. You get in touch with your feelings, but then leave it and go away.
But first
Is
you
there
have
a
to
time limit on that?
You have to acknowledge
Is there
it.
a time limit?
That's fine, That's it. No, yeah.
Kids could have an argument or something, you know how usually they do things just because mom's there, and you're always in the middle, you know, so I try very hard just like to, not, respond a lot of times. And kids will say, why aren't you doing something to him? Weren't you, and I just, kind of leave it. It's the only way I can also deal with it.
Because with bringing din every minute is very hard also. You have eyes and don't see, and ears and don't hear. Otherwise, that's called mature. Mature means you don't pick a point unless you know you're going to stick on it and you're going to have to say it and you're going to have to go through till the end. The same thing with children. When you pick on a point, you must stick on a point. Otherwise, you disappear. And be in trouble. Okay, but you can't also everything mavate, nothing. Then the kids are going to turn out. Where's justice? What's justice? Where is?
The mother knows when it's
That's
Trying
a-
to work it out
that's
after
a-
all, so you can call the children together and talk
Yeah.
about it.
But a lot of times, if you don't, also when you talk about it, you don't bring justice or hit the kid, etc., so the kids feel there's no such thing as right and wrong. You get away with everything. We'll talk about it. We'll think about it. We'll go to the lawyers and we'll talk. I can take the car. I can do this because we're always talking. And don't worry, mom and dad are always liberal, understanding. There's no rights and wrong. You just got to talk and bend and smile, and you get away. Meanwhile, I grabbed in the car and I grabbed in the food. I grabbed in the beating my sister up and brother, and I got away with it. And I talked about it afterwards. I shouldn't have bad. So again, there's no justice there. The kids feel there's no spanking. There has to be a time when there's Yom Hadin. It can't be always floating and it goes by and there's nothing there. It can't be either. Okay. Ukein ze ein Rashi b'Metzia Chof Gimel. Ein Mavir Gemara Mesupar Od. Rav Huna Bereda Rav Yeshua Cholash. O Rav Papa L'Shiur. Amalei Tzivisa Lei Zavdosa. Haino Kasher Bo Rav Papa Levak Amar Sheachinu Loi Kvar Es HaTachrichen. Bring ready the garments are going to be buried. L'Soif it tapach. He got better. Amalei my chazes, my reisha shayisa choyla. Amalei ein in hochi havid. Yes, this is what happened. Misa nik misalai. Death came to you. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Malchamavet. Yeah. Nik miso was getting a knas upon him. He was ready to die. It was decreed. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Malchamavet. Chaya v'loi moikim b'milei loy tukuma b'hadei. Kibin sheino ma'amid al midaisav. Loy to doctor, since he doesn't stand on his rights and justice and demands, therefore I'm not going to medactic on him, and he let Rav Papa live. So you see a clear case that the person forgives and forgets. It's also good. God for you will forgive and forget.
Can you explain it?
Now I'm explaining to you. See, let me explain to you. Again, I'll explain it this way. Life, in order to live life, you got to be mature. You got to get the essence. You got to forgive it. You can't get involved with all the games and stories. So when your neighbor hurts you and all, you forgive and forget. So you're able to get to the essence of life, which is what? Doing God's will, being a positive, active, good person. So then all these other things make you not a good person. You're doing things you don't want to do. You become nasty and haughty and hitting and crying and complaining.